Hello everyone, in this video we're going to learn how to graph a rose curve. Alright, so a rose curve has a form of R equals A times sine and theta. R equals A times cosine and theta. Alright, now n must be positive integers and not equals 1, right? Because if n equals 1, it becomes r equals a sine theta, or r equals a times cosine theta. This is actually the equation of the circle, so keep that in mind. Now, we need to explore the characteristics of rose curves. The domain of the rose curve should be all real numbers. The range should be the interval negative absolute value of a and absolute value of a. The function is continuous. Now we're going to talk about the symmetry. If n is even, the function symmetric about the x-axis, the y-axis, and the origin. If n is odd, we have this function right here, symmetric about the y-axis. If n is odd, we have the function right here, symmetric about the x-axis. The maximum of the radius is absolute value of a. The function has no asymptotes. Now, this is extremely important. We need to calculate the number of petals. Now, the number of petals of the rose curves is n if n is odd, equals 2n if n is even. Alright, now how do we graph a rose curve? Step number 1, we need to look for the value of a. The value of a determines the length of the petals. Step number 2, we need to find the number of petals. If n is odd, and then we have n petals. If n is even, we have 2n petals. Step number 3, we need to find the angle theta where the first petal starts by substituting a for r to solve for theta. Step number 4, we need to find how far the angle rotates each petals. Okay, so we're going to take 360 divided by number of petals if degrees given, or 2 pi divided by number of petals if radians is given, right? Now let's take a look at the first example. R equals 3 sine 4 theta, alright? Now step number 1, the value of a determines the length of the petals, right? So value of a in this situation equals 3, right? So a equals 3, which means the length of the petals should be 3 units, right? So 3 units, which means 3 circles, right? So we have 1 circle right here, 2 circles, and 3 circles, right? Is this the maximum? Now, we need to find the number of petals, right? Since 4 is even, right? So the number of petals is 2 times n, which means 2 times 4 is going to be 8 petals, right? Now, step number 3, we need to find the angle theta, okay, where the first petal starts. So we just substitute a for r, right? A equals 3, so we just substitute 3 for r, right? Equals 3 sine 4 theta. And you solve for theta, right? Divide both sides by 3, so we have sine 4 theta equals 1, right? Which means 4 theta equals pi over 2, right? It's going to be right here. Now divide both sides by 4, so theta equals pi over 8, right? So pi over 8, which means half of pi over 4, so it's going to be right here, right? This is the first petal, right? Now, step number 4. we need to find how far the angle rotates each petal, right? So we're going to use this one, right? So we have 2 pi divided by number of petals. This one is the number of petals right here, 8, right? So divided by 8. It's going to be pi over 4, right? So this is the first petal right here, pi over 8. The second petal should be right here, right? Half of this one because pi over 4 right here. So within one quadrant, you have 2 petals, right? Next one, this is 3 pi over 4 is half, right? So you're going to take half of this one, it's going to be right here, right? And the next one should be right here. Now for the third quadrant, it should be right here and right here, right? And the last quadrant, it should be right here and right here. Now we just draw 8 petals. And this is solution. Alright, so make sure each petal has the angle pi over 8. Now we're going to use the calculator to graph this one, right? So I'm going to use the TIN spy calculator first, right? Alright, so this is the main screen. You just hit add graph right here, right? Now F1 right here. You need to convert this one into the polar function, right? So you need to hit menu, number 3, graph entry right here, and number 5, polar, right? So it's going to be 3 sine 4 theta, right? So you have 3 sine 4 and theta. It's going to be right here, right? And you hit enter. It's going to be right here. And you see that you have 8 petals, and this is the rose curve, right? Very easy, right? Now you can use the TI-84 plus CE calculator to graph this one. Right, so you hit y equals right here. Now if your calculator is not in this polar form, you need to hit mode right here and convert this one to radian. And right at function right here, you need to convert it to polar right here, right? Now I already have this polar form, right? So I hit y equals, I hit 3 sine 4 theta. That's it, right? Hit graph. It's gonna be right here. And don't forget that the range of this problem right here is -3 to 3, right? Now let's move on to the second example. R equals -2 cosine 3 theta, right? So observe that n equals 3, right? So n equals 3 tells us that n is odd, right? So the number of petals should be 3, right? It's exactly right here. So the number of petals right here equals 3 because n is odd, right? So we ignore this guy right here, right? Now the value of a is right here determine the length of the petals, right? So the length of the petal is absolute value of -2, which is 2. So you only take 2 circles, right? Maximum 2 circles. Now next one, we need to find the angle theta where the first petal starts, right? So we're going to substitute a for r, right? So a in this situation is 2. Keep that in mind, we take absolute value of a, right? So we have 2 equals -2 cosine 3 theta, right? So divide both sides by -2. So you have -1 equals cosine 3 theta, right? Now we just switch this one all the way around, right? So we have cosine 3 theta equals -1, right? Cosine 3 theta equals -1 is actually pi, right? So you have 3 theta equals pi, right? Theta equals pi over 3, right? So the first petal starts at pi over 3, right? Now we need to find how far the angles rotate each petal, right? So we have 2 pi divided by number of petals, right? So it's going to be 2 pi divided by, we have 3 petals, right? So it could be divided by 3, right? So the first petal start at pi over 3, right? And we see that the radius is 2 only, right? And pi over 3, which is right here. And then 2 circle is going to be right here. This is the first point, right? Now each petal rotates 2 pi over 3, which is every single 120 degree, right? You have the next petal, right? You have pi over 3, you're gonna add 2 pi over 3. So it's gonna be 3 pi over 3. So you simplify, it's gonna be pi. So the second petal should be right here, right? Now the third one, you're gonna add pi right here, 2 pi over 3, right? So it should be 3 pi over 3 plus 2 pi over 3. So it's going to be 5 pi over 3. So the third one should be right here. Alright, now you just draw the rows with 3 petals, right? And this is the answer to this problem. Now, of course, the range should be negative 2, 2, 2, right? The minimum is negative 2, the maximum is 2, right? Now we can use the calculator to do this one, right? So we just hit tab, and then we just erase this one. So we hit 3 lines right here. Alright, we uncheck this one. Alright, it's gone, right? Now we hit tab again. We have the second one right here. So we hit negative 2 cosine 3 theta, right? Now you just hit enter. It's going to be right here. Alright. If you use TI-84 plus CE calculator, you do exactly the same thing. Hit y equals, hit negative 2 cosine 3 theta, right? You hit graph, it's going to be right here, right? Now here's 2 problems for you to practice, and it's your time to stop. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember that if you failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine.